Talking Time with Caffeine, the podcast where we take what we want to talk about and just do it. Today's topic, Kingdom Hearts. And with me is a YouTuber that specializes in Kingdom Hearts. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Nick McSlyton. I'm Nick. I just said I'm Nick. I'm a he, him, and I do Kingdom Hearts stuff. That's like my whole MO.
Nice. So, how long have you been interested in Kingdom Hearts?
Since it came out, was it 2002?
Yeah, about 20 years ago, almost.
About 20 years ago. I remember playing it on PlayStation 2 with my older brother. He really liked Final Fantasy, so he was like, hey, I got this cool game. And I was like, whoa, Donald and Goofy. So.
Yeah, I was similar. I was at my friend's house and like, click, and it just clicked with me. And still, 20 years later, it's still currently my favorite game series. Although another game series I discovered recently is a close second.
What is it?
It's called Danganronpa.
I haven't heard of that.
It's a deep rabbit hole.
Okay. Gotcha.
But basically, it's like a murder mystery visual novel game.
Oh.
Where when the first game, you're locked in a school by a teddy bear, and you have to kill each other to escape, and then you go in a trial to find out who killed each other.
Okay, is it kind of like Phoenix Wright, like those games?
Yes, but with more fan service and murder.
Oh, okay. Less courtrooms and more murder. Got it.
Yeah. But yeah, they do a trial, but instead of it's a jury of all of you have to investigate, and you have to find out who did it, or you all die.
Oh,
it's like I said, we'll talk. I have a whole thing about it, but I have a whole mini-series about it I can send you. But yeah, back in the good old PS2 days of the unskippable cutscenes.
Yeah, I have one etched into my head, one unskippable cutscene that I can't get out. It's this stupid Riku fight in Hollow Bastion.
Kairi's a princess.
Yes, Sora, Kairi's a princess. Yes, Sora, Kairi's inside you. Let's
it's been a while. So I'm not good at it, but I see people almost quote that cutscene. I saw it so much.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can quote it by heart, or at least used to be able to.
So, have you played the DS games that they decide not to port over to new systems?
Yes, I've played both of them.
Yeah, I'm trying to find an emulator to play them. So I don't have a PS. I don't have a PS3. Not PS3. I don't have a DS, and if I did, I don't have one that can emulate, one that can hook up to the computer. Modded one.
Have you used Desmume? I don't know how to pronounce it. DESMUME.
Yeah, the emulator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, that's when I emulate. That's what I use.
Yeah, I tried that, but computer. I don't know if it was a time or not. My computer just was like, nope. Nope.
Not doing this. No. No, yeah, I played both of them I still have my Nintendo DS actually. And I played both of them when they came out because I bought the Nintendo DS to play them. I always say there's a Kingdom Hearts game where every fan, like when they played it, they were like, that's it. I got to buy every game after this. For me, it was Kingdom Hearts.
Actually, I do have one change and two for the PS2, 3, and 4.
Nice.
But the 3 one was just because at the time, I won my PS4 in a Taco Bell contest. So otherwise I wouldn't be able to buy it for a while.
Right.
Tax money. But I got it. I was waiting for PS. At the time, PS3 was still just a little bit away, and they're like, and they said, "quote." Somebody said they're not going to have the KH the two games, 1.5 and 2.5 for the PS4. I'm like, damn it! So I said, I'll buy a PS3 so I can play them. Bought the PS3, got the games, and then all of a sudden, a few months later or a year later, give or take, I don't know. They're like, guess what? We are releasing them for the PS4. I'm like, God damn it!
Ridiculous.
And I bought it anyways.
I just bought this from like a real like a cheap place, like one of those. I think it's called Game Exchange or something. I just got the PlayStation 4 Story So Far version, which is like all the PlayStation 3 games all on one disc, but the green screen is being rude about it. But
at least yours works. Mine used to work, but now the software doesn't work anymore. I'm like, nope, it's just green.
It's the big green wall.
So what got you? The gameplay or the storyline got to you better?
Oh, definitely the story. The story of one specifically is my favorite, and ironically for its simplicity. But yeah, the story really sucked me in. And like to your point about unskippable cutscenes, I had to relive the story every time I wanted to play it. So I did.
Yeah, I mentioned this. K8 is like my third K8. Except for one game, except for two. Like K8 stuff is my saddest fictional stuff that I ever watched.
Really?
Third saddest.
Third saddest? I would agree with third saddest. What's your first two?
Number two is No Way Home, Spider-Man No Way Home.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
And number one is Danganronpa.
Okay, well, I haven't played that yet, so I'm trying to think what my number one status would be.
Only because Kingdom Hearts, the sad ending can be fixed, right? The next game, the thing. Same with No Way Home. Spoilers, seen it. Peter can actually be smart and tell his friends, and not keep them out of the loop. But in Danganronpa, they're dead. They're staying dead.
They're dead and they're staying dead. That's it.
And like you get attached to these characters and they die. Like, God damn it.
I realized the reason I said real loud. I realized my first one. It's Spiritfarer, which if you haven't played it, is about a woman named what's her name? I'm still looking up. Hang on. Spiritfarer. Characters, please, dude. Stella. I remember that just as the screen loaded in. Stella and her cat Daffodil, and she previously has died. Hi, Nick. She previously died, and she and her cat have to fare spirits to the other side, and the whole game is you getting close to the spirits, and then bringing them to a thing called the Everdor, which is like the afterlife, and it's very sad. That's my number one saddest.
But yeah, I think except for two, I think all the Kingdom Hearts games have a sad ending almost. It could be wrong, but I think two's the only one that has a semi-happy ending.
No, I think you're right. Because at the end of one, there's no sad part except for the fact that Kairi goes back and Sora doesn't, and she touches that wall.
All three are separated. Riku stopped in Realm of Darkness. Sora's alone with Goofy and Donald, and they separate. Kairi and Sora separated.
Right, so that's pretty sad. Chain of Memories. Sora has to go to sleep. I don't really remember anything specifically sad, but it's not happy.
Well, he has to forget all about Naminé.
It's true.
And and even though she started as a not to say evil character, but not like doing bad stuff, you really get to feel for her and like sorry little girl, we forgot all about you. I'll help you.
Sorry. Yeah, 2's pretty happy comparatively. We don't need to say how sad 358 is. We all know. Coded technically doesn't end sad, but then the like update, the second half of it is sad. So
Like,
because it,
yeah, you have to say, oh, all your friends that you have to uh, say like, oh, is everyone you have to save?
yeah, here's all the people you got to save.
I think you did mention 358. We all know that.
That one's definitely sad.
Birth by sleep, obviously. One's somebody's bodies that kept taking over. One trapped in the realm of darkness. The other one's asleep for 10 years.
Yeah, very sad. Is 3DS sad? I can't remember.
Maybe,
God.
I don't know. Maybe not. It's
well,
I guess Sora doesn't get to be a master.
Yeah, Sora almost gets taken over by Xehanort at the end of 3DS. So I mean, it's not happy, but it's not sad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To my memory.
Yeah. Then end of 3, Kairi is gone, and end of Remind, Sora's gone.
Yeah. So, yeah, most of them are pretty sad. So you're right, except for 2.
Maybe 3D. You know.
Yeah, maybe 3D. Because even the phone ones end pretty sad. At the end of Union Cross, you die. You're just dead. And at the end of Dark Road,
all your classmates are dead.
All your classmates are dead. And then Xehanort goes on to be Xehanort. So it's not like it goes better from there.
And all this, and I wonder if that game, spoilers, if anybody doesn't know, I wonder if Luciu was this classmate the whole time. He took over more recently.
Yeah, they hint that he was Bragi because he says as if.
Yeah.
Which is a little on the nose, I feel like, because they even have the same spelling of names, like Zigbar and Bragi. It's the same spelling, just without the X and the R. No, the R's there, just without the X. Is it Bragi? I gotta remember if it's Bragi. Dark Road.
Braig?
Well, Braig is yeah, the normal one, the one.
Yeah, and we all find out, and in the 3 we find out that he was the guy from the master. He's one of the masters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so Bragi is also the one who's hinted to be Luciu, which is something else.
So when you ever, I don't know if you played it, whenever you watched Union Cross, were you surprised that Marluxia and Larxene were old people? I mean, they were back in the day.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I don't think I was surprised because I think most of the discourse around the time that was coming out is like, oh, they have to be from this game because 3 had come out by then, by the time they showed up.
Yeah. And they are like totally different personalities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Larxene / Elrena, is that her name?
Yeah.
Is actually nice as a human. And I just got through playing Arendelle in KH3, and she's not very nice in that.
Or in Chains.
Or in Chain of Memories either.
But I guess one negative thing about KH I have to say, besides the typical cutscenes, is some of the shipping fan base.
I don't deal in ships. You ship what you want to ship. I ain't about it.
They're just early days. There were a lot. I'm looking on forums, a lot of war.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you could still find some on Reddit.
But But my philosophy is, if you don't like the ship, don't go to their ship. Don't go to the website.
That's fair.
Like, I understand people to go to the website and say that's this couple is not the canon couple that this because this that. I'm like, you don't like the couple. Why are you on the site about the couple?
True. If you don't like the Sora X Riku ship, don't go on the Sora X Riku website. That's real simple.
Or vice versa.
Or vice versa.
Yeah. Mainly for me, it was all about how the ones I went to. It's all I went to the Sora Kyrie websites, and the Riku people were like Sora and they're like Sora and Riku are actually the couple because Sora cried over Riku and didn't cry over Kyrie. That was their big thing.
That's like the only ammo I've seen Sora Riku shippers have, and it's like, hey, you know what? That's if you like that, you like that. But
yeah, but I think the main thing is that people are like he cried because he thought Riku was dead. He knew Kyrie was alive, you know. And plus, gotta remember too, this is Japanese culture and totally different than American culture.
That's true. I again, I'm not into the ships, so
yeah. But basically, almost if you think about the whole game's a big ship, kind of either Sora and Kyrie, or Sora and Naminé, or Naminé and Riku, or I mean Naminé or Roxas, or Roxas and Xion.
Yeah, it's just constant like trails of like possible. Oh, we have someone who joined.
Yep. This is Snick.
Hello.
I met him. I met him through KH, and we used to do a LP together.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's LP?
Let's play.
Let's play.
Oh, okay. I didn't know there was a shortened version of it.
I don't like you. I personally don't like using that term either. But yeah.
Yeah. I used to have a thing where difference between Let's Plays, walkthroughs, and another one where walkthroughs help you with the game. Let's Plays are more like they play the game and just talk about random shit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then there's actually a thing, I forget what it was called, but they actually play the game. Don't talk, don't do anything. They just play the game in complete silence.
That's kind of like a walkthrough, just no commentary, I guess.
Yeah, and you get all the comments saying that freaking oh, these are thank you for not talking, thank you for doing something without comments. Yeah, and it's like, in a way, I don't blame them because there are a lot of cringe commentators, like Let's Players and live streamers out there.
Yeah, but at that point, why not just play the game yourself? At that point, you're just basically. I think that would personally, I think that would actually do against the fair use thing of YouTube, because that basically just at that point it's just watching a movie with nothing on it, just playing the game.
Yeah.
Nothing commentary, nothing digital about it, and it's like, well, I just.
And that's why I only said it. I kind of get it, because on the other hand, it's like, if you don't like those kinds of videos, why'd you click on it? Because usually it's spelled out if there's commentary or not.
I think that's fair.
And we talked about ourselves, but what you, Snick? How did you get into KH?
Well, the very first time I heard about the series was on a VHS. It was like, if you remember, there used to be like this old animated series that aired on like Toon Disney Channel. It's about like Mickey running like a comedy club, basically, where they play like cartoons. There was a
Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, like the House of
Mouse.
Yes,
that was the name. So there was a Halloween movie for it called, I think it was called Mickey's House of Villains. And like basically the whole plot is that Jafar took over the club and all that. And then it was like a Halloween thing. So one of the commercials for it one of the commercials on that VHS tape was a teaser for KH1. Like, all I remember is that it had, like, the game's logo, like, on a black background, like, teasing it. I think there was more to the promo than that, but that's all I remembered. Then I would see, like, occasional trailers for it, and then when KH2 was brand new, I think I saw, like, a few people talking about it. But then, one day, I'm at a Best Buy, and I have the option of getting either KH1 or KH2. I do not. Instead, I took a Teen Titans game, which Vandalia might remember because he was there when I Let's Played it.
Mm-hmm.
It was the one where I fell through the floor and raged at it. So, but yeah, so, but about a month later, I would get the game because somebody I knew in 5th grade was talking about it. That's when I would get KH1, and I bought KH2 not long after. In fact, KH2 was like still kind of brand new at the time. It was like $45 for a used copy because like PS2 games were $50 brand new back then. And I remember being put off by that. Most of the games I played back then were like kind of like licensed games, which were always like sold at like $40. Like $40 was the price I was used to. So having to pay more than that for a used copy, no less, I was kind of thrown off by that.
Yeah, that's wild.
But yeah. And the funny thing is that first copy of KH2 I got did not work. Like, it would play the opening FMV. You would get all the way up to the scene where Roxas wakes up in his bedroom after he has, like, another dream about Sora, like one of those flashback VHS kind of things. Then he, like, looks out the window. You get the logo for Twilight Town. It goes to a black screen as the Twilight Town music plays. And just stays there. So that later that weekend, when my dad came home from whatever trip he was on, we had to go back to the GameStop, get another disc, but then it worked. So it's funny because I beat KH2 before I beat KH1. And that's because KH1, like, some of its, like, more archaic design choices and, like, how it was a bit more easy to get lost in that one. It left me confused. In fact, I had to get the strategy guides for both because I was struggling with some of the end game bosses in KH2. But I mainly needed it for KH1 because I could not beat any of the worlds, like Olympus, Wonderland, Deep Jungle.
Yeah. Question. We talked about this earlier. If you got there, did you? KX1, did you have the PS2 non-skippable cutscene version?
Of course, that was all that we had back then.
So what was there a certain? We talked about our Kaiser Princess cutscene. What was there a need for you that you got stuck on and over again?
There was that one. There was also the Maleficent dragon. There was the giant Ursula fight.
Oh yeah.
The Shadow Sora fight in Neverland was another one. And it's so funny because I kind of struggle to say that with a straight face because anytime I play KH1 nowadays, I do not struggle on any of those anymore. So...
we're more experienced gamers now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I had my share of those moments. Like, and it's funny because the strategy guide I had, like when I was struggling with the Maleficent Dragon big time, I was looking for a breath of relief because the strategy guide was insisting that the second Riku fight, the one with Kairi's a princess, like that cutscene, it was insisting, oh, this is tough. It's pretty tough, but it's a little bit easier than the Maleficent Dragon. So I was like, well, that's a little bit of relief. It took me even longer to beat the second Riku fight.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at least with if you could, at least with the dragon fight, you could. I don't like say cheat, but you can use the Tinkerbell method. You know.
Well, and there's also sicking your allies on her to chip down her health. Like that's how I beat the Ursula fight. Like, I only went in to hit Ursula whenever she fired that mouth beam. Other than that, I would just stay on the outskirts and just keep mashing triangle to like command like the party members to go get her.
That's my strategy too.
Not so much anymore. Like I take more risks and I go in there a bit more often. But yeah.
Yeah, my thing was just try to stay behind her and hit the back of her neck. That was my thing. Just keep behind her, keep behind her.
The mermaid kick ability, the thing that makes you go like swim really fast, would always screw me over during that fight because I'm sitting here trying to go down, and Sora's like, "What if I just swam as fast as possible right into her attack?"
Because they map the mermaid kick skill to the same button that you use to go down.
Right. It's awful.
Yeah, for me, even that game, that world before that, it was for just trying to find that damn dolphin, and once you find it, trying to grab it.
Yeah.
And also because it has to be, you define it, and then it has to be an enemy-free area. Found it. Damn it, the enemies are back.
Yeah, I remember real long ago when I needed the Brady strategy guide back in the day, and I got to the dolphin part. I saw the dolphin. I was like, "Oh, that's cool. There's dolphins in this game," and I kept going. And then I went and I got to the big open area. Saw the geyser that like blows you back, the like big wind tunnel. And I was like, "What the hell am I supposed to do?" And it took me like 2-3 hours to get back. Realize I was supposed to grab the dolphin over by Ariel's grotto or whatever it's called, and then let it swim over, and then come back to the wind area, and then grab it. All outside of Heartless. It's ridiculous the way they designed this game. Absolutely.
This is why I guess the next time they made a Mermaid World, they made this a karaoke section,
which fans arguably hated even worse.
Yeah, it was. I've heard it from both sides. It's either you really hate it because it's like a music mini game that you just despise it, or hey, at least you don't have to like fight anything. That's it. There's no like accolades for it.
Yeah, I one play I've heard is they like the singing, but they hate that some of the songs are just random songs that no one ever heard of before. They're not actually the Disney songs.
Well, two of them. I know one of them is
a Part of Your World and Under the Sea.
Oh yeah, two. So two of them, and then three of them are just ones they made up.
Yeah, which are not as good.
Like they're direct-to-video Disney quality, maybe.
Like, yeah, at best.
Yeah. Not even a good villain song.
Not even a good villain song.
Oh yeah, Ursula's song was just kind of cringe.
But really, you only need to. Well, again, we're talking about needing things. The only reason you have to get that world is if you want the ultimate weapon.
Yeah, because they make it completely optional.
Yeah, I was talking about this earlier with him. I think it was on the stream. It was before the stream, where my least favorite game is Birth by Sleep because those mini games aren't optional. Not like Winnie the Pooh or thing or Atlantic that you can skip. You have to beat these mini games to beat the game.
Yeah, it's the racing. I think like you said, the racing fine, the fruit ball fine, but the small world music challenge not fine, not okay.
It's real interesting because maybe it's because I'm more experienced with stuff like Guitar Hero, Rock Band, and all that, but that mini game was not that bad for me anyway.
Yeah, the racing took me at least two or three tries because getting hit sometimes, or you miss that jump thing, shortcut thing, go all the way around.
I will say it's a good thing they didn't make the command board required because a lot of that is luck. And little fun fact about that's basically a version of I'm probably going to mispronounce this, Adeki Street, which is sort of a Japanese Monopoly.
Mm.
And it's funny because like Enix, like one of the parts of Square, I think they made a lot of like games that were like video games because I think it's very Dragon Quest themed. but many of them were Japan only, except I think for one called Fortune Street, which was like a crossover with Mario that released on the Wii. But yeah, like basically that's what the command board in Birth by Sleep is.
Birth by Sleep is my favorite, and when I play it on critical, and I 100% it each time, and it's progressively gotten easier, but that's like what, 27 command boards, 28 you got to do, because there's like 8 of them with 3 different characters.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason you have to do that is if you want to get to the big final boss in the Mirage Arena.
Yeah. Oh, so that's another good point. You got to do them in the Mirage Arena, but there's also command-specific commands that only appear in certain command boards. Like you can only get them from the command board. It's kind of stupid.
For me, the hardest part about Birth by Sleep, besides the ice cream, was it was trying to figure out what the combination of the melding thing, kind of find out what crystal, what combinations makes what.
Well, for that you got like charts online that tell you.
Well, I didn't know about that at the time.
Yeah.
Thankfully, some of the items you get via chests give you like they'll tell you, I think it's like magic recipe or attack recipe or something, and then they'll tell you if you have that specific
well
recipe.
some of them was obvious. Blizzard and Blizzard equals Blizzaga, you know.
Right. But you'll never know what the crystal will do. I don't think it'll ever tell you what the crystal's gonna do.
I'm like, come on, last chance, or come on, second chance, or leaf bracer. Come on, leaf bracer.
Yeah, when I play, I use I have 2 like physical sheets that I use. One of them is for abilities, and one of them is for all the commands. It's like 12 pages worth of notes. And
I think they tried again with the command abilities during Dream Drop Distance.
Yeah, they did.
With the link board of the pets, like you go this way or this way or this way or this way, or I'll do them all.
I'll do them all. Yeah.
Your pet is now calm. Your pet is now ferocious. Your pet is now happy.
Yeah, because in Cage 3D, basically they make it into sort of a Pokemon-like thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because that was something they had to completely readapt for the remaster, because it was, in a way, it was sort of a remake on the like the PS4 version, because they had to completely redo the game to account for the fact that now there's only one screen, whereas the 3DS had 2.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think for most of it was okay because they just had a map, but on the pet one specifically, the touchscreen was a huge part of it.
Yeah, so they had to figure out a way to get that working with buttons.
Speaking of redoing the game, Snick, you do. I don't know if you still have it, but you did have the Game Boy Advance original changed, didn't you?
I'm pretty sure I still have it, because I don't think I got rid of it. It's just I haven't touched my GBA cartridges in a while. Oh, speaking of which, I told this story on an episode so long ago, and I just remember the guest we had at the time, his jaw dropped at this. I never got to play the original GBA Chain of Memories. And there's a reason for that. So I didn't get to play it until the PS2 remake came out. Like, it got localized. And I mean, it's a whole different thing entirely about how the final mix versions were Japan only for so many years until they finally arrived, like, through the PS3 remasters. Oh, speaking of which, this is my Cage 1.5 PS3, which is like in the fancy book. See?
Yeah.
Nice.
I did also get a collector's box for the 2.5 and the 2.8 collections, but they're in the back over there because they're like in these fancy collector's boxes. But yeah, so anyways, yeah, I didn't get to play Chain of Memories on GBA. I asked for it for Christmas, like 2006. Now, keep in mind, this is like when the GBA was like kind of going out the door, like the DS was sort of taking its place. But I did not get it that Christmas. And it's funny, we went to downtown Disney in Florida for my spring break that year. I'm still in 5th grade. I go into this toy shop and they have like this big video game section. They have a bunch of GBA copies of Chain of Memories there. So, and my dad's letting me pick out one thing. I go and grab the Chain of Memories off the shelf. This is what I want. And he tells me, sorry, GBA games are Game Boy games are worthless. Takes it from me, puts it back on the shelf, walks away.
Your dad said that?
He did.
It was just funny because I think you actually play. There's a slot where you can play Game Boy Advance games on the DS.
I know.
There is. There absolutely is.
That was my plan.
Why does it feel like your dad went, sorry, that's a stupid thing to buy. Let's buy something else. Like, wait a minute. Whoa, that's not cool.
He was dead set in the mind. He was dead set that like once like new tech. I mean, well, for one thing, he partially does not like me playing games all that much because, well, he doesn't get it. He's like one of those parents. But on the other hand, he was a firm believer in like advancing technology. Like once a new technology's out, it's like, why even bother with the old technology? I mean, some cases that can apply, like going from VHS to DVD, for example, but he thought that applied to games. In fact, when I got my PS3, one of the first games I bought off the PlayStation Network, which was not the first one I did. First one was Final Fantasy VII for my PSP. But on my PS3, I got Final Fantasy VIII because that just released on the PlayStation Network at the time. And when I was describing it to my dad, he's like, well, why are you buying that old game? It's like, why do you want that now? Granted, he didn't stop me because this time it was with my own money. So he's like, well, it's your money. Do what you want. I just don't understand.
Because I want to play it again. I can't play it on my old system anymore.
Yeah, I can't play it.
I didn't even have a copy of Final Fantasy VIII. I mean, I do now. It's on the shelf here. If I could dig for it. Yeah, I see it behind some amiibos. Yep, there it is. Get it out. I might have this thing now, but I didn't have it back then. Because it's a little bit too young to be getting fully invested in the PS1 library. But
don't they have? I'm not sure that I don't know if they made it or not, but they talked about it, or they did. Didn't they talk about making like a PS1 classic, like the Nintendo Classic and the Super Nintendo?
They already did. They did, and people did not like it when it came out because there were like 20 games. Like half of them used the PAL versions, which give like a slower speed. That said, I still bought one for $20 and I modded it to make it good.
So was there actually any good? Was there any good games on it? Like people actually liked? Like, I mean,
Nintendo... Oh yeah, there were some. Like there was Tekken 3, which was like the biggest one people wanted because that was like one of the games that skipped the PlayStation Network back like during the PS3 days because of copyright issues with one character. Oh, Alma's in chat. Say hi to Alma.
Hi, Alma.
Hi, Alma.
All right, so yeah, there were definitely. Let's see. There was also RE1 Director's Cut. There was Rayman, Ridge Racer Type 4, I think. The original Siphon Filter. There were definitely good games on there. I mean, there were a couple of questionable choices. The biggest one being the PS1 port of Rainbow Six, which is not a good game.
Like the original Rainbow Six.
The original Rainbow Six. On Nintendo 64 and Dreamcast, it was decent. Not on PS1.
No. That's wild.
So, but yeah, I bought one for $20 right before COVID hit because GameStop was trying to get rid of them. And it's real funny because of the inclusion of games like RE1, there's a freaking big M rating slapped on it. So I have the box back there, but I have to dig for it, so I'm just gonna leave it there.
Let's,
But when I modded it, like I put all the games on this here flash drive. So if I plug it in the second controller port on the PlayStation Classic and plug in the PlayStation Classic, I got like a whole bunch of games. But anyways, yeah, the whole point of that was that I didn't get to play Chain of Memories on GBA until years later when I finally got a cartridge, and I played it on my Game Boy player for my GameCube. That was because that's the thing. He not only wouldn't let me get the game because it was on GBA, he later sold all my methods of playing GBA games. My original DS, which was really my sister's, but that's besides the point. My GBA SP, which was mine, he even made me dig through like an old toy chest to find my old original Game Boy Advance to get a measly $5 off of it so he could buy my sister a DSi.
Jeez.
Because he was being a cheapskate.
Wow. That's too much. That's
And when I finally decided to confront him about like a year or two later, he just gave me, "What's done is done. Get over it."
Great.
Yeah,
sounds very healthy.
So I was stuck being unable to play my GBA cartridges because he didn't give those away. I mean, thank God he didn't. But yeah, eventually when I got my GameCube, because I didn't have a GameCube for years, I just played GameCube games on the Wii. I got a Game Boy player with it because they happened to have it. So that's how I got to play Chain of Memories on the GBA for the first time.
Nice.
So
we always talked about this. We talked about this off screen too earlier. But with chains, that they went from the Game Boy Advance to the PS2 at the time. With 3D with Dream Drop Distance, it was from the 3D to the PS3. But
PS4.
PS4.
The 2.8 collection was not on PS3.
Oh, yeah, but for some reason, for 358 and coded, they're like, nah, we're just gonna do the cutscenes.
I don't
know what the difference between going DS and up was.
The main reason why was because they would have had to overhaul everything. Like I think with Cage 3D, they were still able to like reuse like the assets and all that. With Days and Recoded, they would have had to overhaul everything.
Well, then they do that
like the models, the environments, probably the gameplay too. And they admitted, like at the time the 1.5 collection was coming out, and they revealed it was just going to be a cutscene movie. They stated basically, we don't have time, we don't have the resources.
That's fair.
So
I understand that, but I also understand that wasn't it harder to do from the Game Boy Advance to the PS1?
The thing with that is they made that. The thing with the original, with Chain of Memories, is that it was basically a budget title. They were reusing a lot of assets they had at the time, I believe. And the thing is, in Japan, Chain of Memories was not sold on its own. It was literally a bonus disc with the final mix version of Cage 2. And really, the incentive to play it was that you would get like a save file bonus if you imported your Cage 2 save or your into like Chain of Memories. Like you would get like the Organization 13 cards, I believe. But then they hastily translated it in English and they released it standalone in North America and Europe like very late in the PS2's life. Like they figured, because their whole mindset for not localizing the final mix versions was Square was under the kind of deluded belief that people would not buy the same game twice.
No, I think that's a fair belief. That's a fair belief to have.
Well, but they were the only ones who believed that, because Capcom certainly would like to have a word with them with their millions of Street Fighter 2 updates. Devil May Cry 3 got an updated re-release. Resident Evil 1 and 2 got updated re-releases. Even like Resident Evil 4, the PS2 version had content that was not on the GameCube version. Even Konami did the same thing with MGS 2 and 3. So yeah, there were companies doing it and releasing in North America.
I guess that's fair, because
yeah,
they did it recently, and like, well, here's 2 versions of the same game. So
yeah.
So they weren't wrong to start doing it.
Adapted to it, probably because they saw the dollar signs. Well, the funny thing with the remasters on PS3, that's when they finally started going back and releasing like these Japan-only updated re-releases, because the whole point was that, I mean, from what I understand, the whole point of like those re-releases is because when they came out in Japan originally, they actually were lacking some content that would get added to the American and European versions. So the whole point of doing the updated re-release in Japan only was so that they could give Japanese players like the content they missed out on, but then also adding more content that now American and European players are not getting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with one exception, Final Fantasy X, that game's updated re-release, it did make it to Europe. Just not North America.
Just not North America.
Yeah, I think some people are kind of okay with the coded one, because that was that thing. But with the Days one, a lot of the story is in the non-cutscenes too.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the thing with Days. Well, that's the thing with Days. Like they actually they sort of half-assed the Days movie on the PS3 original. Like a lot of it was dialogue boxes. If they featured very little in the way of fight scenes, because they were basically under the mentality, if it was not in a cutscene, we're not remastering it.
Yeah, the only thing I think they added was an update where Roxas actually fights final boss Xion. Outside of that, that's it.
Even then, it was only on the PS4 version. And Xbox One, and PC. But PS3 version, they didn't add it. So, and I think the only reason they added it was just because it was easily the most jarring cut. Like, literally, you get Xion, like, giving her big speech, ready to fight. It cuts to black, and then it cuts to her already defeated.
Yeah.
So, for the PS4 version, they actually kept it the same for the PS4 version at first, but then they did put a free DLC that added the cutscene of like the fight, and it also gave KH1 a theater mode.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. And then now, to its credit, Recoded is probably the most pointless entry in the series in terms of story. Like, it's basically a filler story. But they did give the Recoded movie, maximum effort. Like, they actually did animate a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't in the original.
I think for that game, the story-wise, the big thing is just that when you find out, when Data Sora make you find out about Roxas, Naminé, Xion, Terra, Aqua, and Ventus at the very end.
Yeah, that's kind of like that's it. The whole point of that story. That's the only thing that matters, because there's no development for Sora as a character, because it's not Sora. So, right. So the only thing that ever matters is Mickey finding out, hey, these people are actually still alive.
Yeah. We talked about the couple of stuff earlier. I took me a while to realize this, but in KH2, every role is almost focused around a couple.
No.
Like Milan, Milan and what's his name, and then Beauty and the Beast, Hercules and Meg.
Port Royal has its couple, I suppose.
Yeah, Will and Elizabeth.
Yeah. Acrobat doesn't focus too heavily on Jasmine and Aladdin, but that's because they already did that. Instead, it's more Yago and Jafar. That's more the relationship they focus on.
Yeah, Jack and
Sally.
Sally, and then Simba and Nala.
Mm-hmm. And Ariel and Eric, like you were gonna say. So yeah.
But yeah, it's like, hey, it's like, hey, here's a couple together, and you're not with Kyrie. You're still not with Kyrie. So it's like, damn it. I did like funny. I did like the one scene, where he's dancing with little Kyrie because he doesn't know she's grown up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I thought that was adorable.
Mm-hmm.
But
go ahead.
But Snick, we also talked about this earlier. Snick, what game do you think was the saddest of all the Cage games?
The saddest scenes?
Yeah, the saddest game. You thought maybe. We talked about how
probably the ending of Birth by Sleep because it's the only depressing ending in the series.
I think they're all depressing except for 2.
Yeah, definitely Birth by Sleep.
Yeah,
Birth by Sleep's rough. I agree with that. 358 hits a little harder for me because by the end of Birth by Sleep, I really don't emotionally care about them. Terra, it feels like it's just his voice actor's lines delivery for me. It's just so monotone. The only people I care about is Aqua. And it's sad there, but in 358 in Days, I care about everybody.
It's funny because one project I kind of have on the side is I stitch together my favorite shows I watched as a kid, some more recent stuff like anime and whatnot, and I put them all into long form marathons for me to put on, or as Alma calls them, hour videos. So what happened was I also do the same thing for video game movies. Anytime there's one common form of video on YouTube is called the video game movie, where they stitch together the cutscenes and some gameplay to make into a movie you can watch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the KH series is one of those where I take the video game movies, I cut them into parts, and I give them an intro and credits, and I just call them episodes. I put them in. The way I structured it with Days and KH2 is that first I did the Roxas prologue of KH2. I get to where he's in the mansion and when he's flashing back to everything. Then I go to all of Days' events. I go through all those. And then when Days is over, it cuts back to him in the mansion, and then it concludes the prologue, and then the rest of KH2 goes from there.
Nice.
So,
that makes sense.
Yeah. I figured it was better to insert it that way instead of just jarringly cutting to all of Days after KH2's events.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do have to do Birth by Sleep after KH2's events just to kind of give a little, just because there's no real better place to put it.
Yeah.
Though with Rechain of Memories, I did Sora and Riku stories side by side, trying to chronologically line them up.
Oh yeah, I was with you when we did that. That was
yeah, we did do that with the Let's Play, but basically you get to see it. I actually fully realized it. I'm pretty sure, in I guess a bit of a smarter way. Yeah, because when we did the playthrough, we kind of messed it up a little bit.
Yeah, it's trying to hard match up some stuff. We know that one scene of Riku was after he beats
Marluxia.
Yeah, and then some other things,
Oh, that was the easiest one to line up.
Right.
Literally, I have it to where after, as Marluxia's death animation's going on, it cuts to Riku walking in the hallway, and then suddenly the whole room shakes, and then it cuts back to just Sora walking out like a badass, having defeated him, and then yeah,
because it doesn't really there's not a lot of other places that match up. There's just sort of where replica Riku's brain is at. That's the only his personality. That's the only frame of reference to try and match those up, I feel like.
Yeah, I did my best to match it up, or at least make sure there was no continuity errors. That does result in Riku disappearing from the story quite a bit, but that was the best I could do, because his story is much shorter.
Yeah.
So I think I was talking about.
Go ahead.
I was going to say about 2, but let's talk about 3 for a bit. How was your guys' first playthrough of 3 when you first played it?
You want to go first, Nick?
Yeah, I can go. So when I first played the game, I was pretty divided on it. Like when I did a Let's Play on 3, and that was my first ever playthrough of the game. And I mean, the actual combat and whatnot was fine, but when it came to the story, like, I don't know, like, it just didn't feel as grand as it should have felt. Like, I mean, like, the final battle kind of picked things up a little bit, but like going to like the Disney stuff, it felt like there wasn't much of a point this time. Like in KH1 and KH2 is because he was just looking for his friends and all that, trying to see where they were. 3, it's all about trying to find the power of waking, which is like barely even referenced when he's like going to visit. And not to mention, like, the execution of like some of the Disney stuff was like hit or miss. Sometimes it was a hit, sometimes it was a miss. Like, let's see, Hercules was fine. And a little bit of bias, but it was the only 2D Disney movie to appear in the entirety of the game. Like, if you see me ramble in other spots, I want Disney to do 2D animated movies again. So Tangled was fine, but there was a pretty glaring continuity error where Rapunzel suddenly starts calling Flynn Eugene. And that's because they cut out a vital scene from the original movie where she finds out his real name.
I just replayed it. They cut out so much of the fucking movie. Like, she gets the tiara back from Mother Gothel, but not in Kingdom Hearts. She just has it on the boat.
Uh-huh.
How did she get it?
Yeah, so Tangled had some glaring continuity errors. I mean, if I could give any of the Disney stuff credit, they did make a stronger effort to like tie them into like more like the greater scope plot by like having the Organization 13 members show up more and like try to actually be involved, but then lots of it doesn't go much anywhere. Like, I think they mentioned one thing about how they have like a backup like lights, like in case like the main characters don't fulfill their roles for like the final battle. So let's see. Toy Story was a mindfuck with its plot. And the really silly thing is that I think Pixar was trying to claim, oh yeah, this is canon to the Toy Story movies. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Jeez. Yeah, it seems like the Pixar worlds, they tried to make stories that didn't impact the movie.
Like that, and I think that was Pixar's like deal. Like, they didn't want to impact like they didn't want the worlds of like the movies to be like the continuity of the movies to be impacted. But then that leads to the nonsense that's Monsters Inc.'s world, where I thought they were going to do just an adaptation of the movie because like Boo is there and everything. But then you find out, no, it takes place after the movie. And apparently, you can sort of tell, like, the Monsters Inc. itself seems to still be like barely having converted to like the scare floor to the laugh floor, and yet somehow Sully's going to visit Boo, bringing her into the monster world, and the ending of Monsters Inc. kind of implied that she's much older by at least a little bit older by the time Mike fixes the door and Sully's able to see her again.
Mm-hmm.
But no, here she's the same age, I guess because they didn't want to hire another actor to play her. Instead, they just wanted to reuse Mary Gibbs' dialogue from the movie. Because that's what they did. They just took old recordings of Mary Gibbs from the first movie and they just recycled them.
That's what it sounded like. I just played it and I was like, this is just from the movie.
It is.
This isn't a new line read.
And apparently that's not the only time Pixar has recycled that dialogue. I think they also recycled those recordings for like Inside Out for like young Riley, I think. Maybe. All I know is that they recycled them somewhere. Like they have those Mary Gibbs recordings somewhere, like in a vault, if they need them for like a little girl voice. But yeah, so now I will say, like, so Monsters Inc. just felt like they should have just adapted the movie, because really the plot of Monsters Inc. is them retreading the end of the first movie.
And basically introducing Ventus again.
I mean, I will give it that the scene where Sully takes out Vanitas was pretty damn awesome.
It's so good. He just grabs him and they throw him through a door, and they throw that door through a door, they throw that door through a door, they throw that through another door. And then they shred. That's so good. That and the Toy Story scene where Woody's like, "No one's ever loved you. Leave," to young Xehanort. It's so funny.
But anyways, Frozen, I mean, I don't like Frozen, the movie. And funny thing is, even people who like Frozen believe the Frozen world is one of the worst worlds to be in the game, in the entire series.
You ever heard about that theory about how they originally going to have Elsa as the bad guy?
Mm-hmm.
When the movie was in production, because the original story, the Snow Queen, did have her as the villain.
I think,
but basically the thing with Frozen is that it feels like it was only in because it was Disney's cash cow mega franchise at the time, and they just felt obligated. I mean, I think the director of the game spoke with some passion about Frozen and wanting it in, but like it was again just a kind of lazy retread of the movie. Like Hans is cut out of the story almost completely. Like he shows up completely he doesn't even get a line of dialogue. Like they barely even develop him from the movie. And then like basically it's the same thing with Tangle. They chop out a lot of stuff. And of course, they waste time by putting in the songs from the movie, even though they're kind of out of nowhere and a bit jarring, because aside from Atlantica and Cage 2, they don't really feature the songs from the movies. Except for background music.
Alma just messaged, they sing the song and you can't skip it. You can skip it.
Skip it.
But they do sing the song. They also sing Do You Want to Build a Snowman? But they don't mess with the volume levels. So Kristen Bell, as adult Anna, is just talking over young Anna singing at the same volume. So it's just clashing the entire time.
Yeah. So yeah, the Frozen, and not to mention, like, the Frozen world is just one of the most visually uninteresting worlds in the series, just because it's all snow. It like looks very samey, so like when you're trying to find like treasure, like items or whatever, like you get lost easy. But yeah, so now that I'm about to talk about pirates, I kind of wish that there were more returning worlds instead of just brand new ones. Like, in particular, I really, really wish they did Aladdin again, only so that they could have wrapped it up with King of Thieves.
Speaking of pirates, I think they did a lot better with the graphics from 2 to the 3.
Well, from the jump in hardware generation, like, I mean, that's to kind of be expected. But Pirates was fine. I mean, they do kind of skip through the movie a little bit more, but I thought they did fine with Pirates, like especially with like being able to control the pirate ship and everything.
I like the pirate gameplay. I felt like the voice actors were way better too.
And not to mention the fight with Davy Jones was notable because that's another thing with KH3. There are very, very, very few bosses in the game that are Disney characters. It's mostly Heartless, Unverse, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Davy Jones is one of the only, like, actual, like, characters you fight as a boss.
Yeah, Davy Jones and Dark Baymax, I think, are the only...
You also fight the giant snowman Marshmallow.
Yeah, but he's not
more
the
of a
final
mini
boss.
thing.
Yeah, it's a mini
Yeah.
boss. So it still counts.
Yeah. And, oh yeah, getting to Big Hero 6, that's another case where they should have just adapted the movie, but they didn't. Like, what was the name of the villain from Big Hero 6?
The professor?
Yeah, that professor. That would have been great to fight him as a boss. Like, with all the all his nanobot machines and everything.
Wasn't the... Yeah, I think the boss in that game, the game was Riku.
Yeah,
it was the Dark
it's
Baymax.
It's Dark Baymax, but I think Replica Riku is riding on his back. In the movie, the bad guy is Yokai or Robert Callahan.
Yeah,
Callaghan?
because when I bought KH3 and I knew Big Hero 6 was in, I figured you were going to have a fight with him because it was going to be an adaptation of the movie. And even if it wasn't, he'd be in, but nope. Like, they threw a great idea. They had a great idea on paper. They decided not to use it.
I don't think there will be.
There won't be.
I doubt it.
There will not be. Now that Splash Mountain is sadly gone, and
it's still there, but it's now the frog.
They're remodeling it to be Princess and the Frog themed.
Yeah.
Which is fine because that movie does deserve more attention, but still, I kind of wish I got to go on the original one more time, but I didn't get that chance.
Yeah, I do remember. Back to 3 in a second, but I do remember we talked about 2 before we ended that thing. Were any of you shocked, or did they get you with the Goofy dying thing? You think he's dead?
That did get me, but I was also 9, so
it did get me to go, wait, are they serious? But when he came back and was fine, I was not surprised.
But I to me, it caught me off guard. That was guard is when Mickey got serious. I'm like, they'll pay for this. I'm like, damn, Mickey.
Damn, Mickey.
But back to 3.
Do you have like a rating for it, Schnick? Like a 0 out of or 1 to 10?
For what?
For KH3?
I would say like when I first played it, it would probably be like a 6 or a 7, but maybe more like an 8 now.
Mm-hmm.
Because the DLC did at least elevate it a little bit.
Gotcha.
Like, I have not finished the DLC because of its freaking extremely high level of difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seriously, you get Zack from Zack and Cody as the series' hardest boss so far. I am not joking. Yozora is voiced by Dylan Sprouse, who played Zack and Cody.
I love that. In like the worst way, though.
Uh-huh.
Like how Jesse McCartney plays Roxas. Like, why?
Yeah.
For me,
well, technically, and at least in this version, one of the characters from Zack and Cody does play Shion and Kairi.
That's true.
Alison Stoner.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, she was also in the Cheaper by the Dozen movies with Steve Martin.
Mm-hmm.
So,
for me, for Kingdom Hearts 3, the first time I played it, I really didn't like it that much. I played it the one time in 2019 when it came out. I beat it, and I was like, I think I'm going to take a break from the series for a while. That didn't stick. And then I've been replaying it just to like talk about it on the podcast here, and I got through to Arendelle over the week, and I actually like it a lot more on a second playthrough on critical mode, because at the time there was no critical mode
definitely heightens like the difficulty and like enjoyment.
Yeah, and it makes it a little bit more fun. I will agree. And now that I like kind of figured out, I don't love the attraction commands. I only really use them if I need them.
Well, there is the option to turn them off.
Yeah, which I don't want to do that. I still want to use them. They're still busted.
Yeah.
But I do find them more useful than not. And so originally I would say it was probably a 5 for me, but
Yeah.
this time it's like a 9. It really jumped up. And I haven't even played the DLC.
But yeah, the DLC I think you'd enjoy if you like challenging stuff.
Plus it also fills in some plot holes of the story too.
Oh yeah, like that's the thing. Like the final like worlds, like basically the final battle. There are like some plot holes, like how Terra's armor comes out of nowhere and joins the fight without any explanation. That's one. Then also, Naminé has a scene, except you can very easily miss it because it's an optional scene. So when she shows up in the ending out of nowhere as they're trying to give her her own body, then that can come out. Then there's that.
I kind of liked it when it didn't have. I haven't watched the DLC, but I like it for the hype value where it comes out of nowhere. Is it a plot hole? Sure. But it gives me a lot of hype.
I mean, I will say when Yen Sid showed up and started doing his Fantasia routine where he's like this, like that was awesome.
Yeah, I think another one that people, I think at least some people were like when Oculus stood there and took the Heartless thing.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah. When she gets hit by the Demon Tower or whatever it's called.
She stands there. They explained that in the DLC too.
Yeah, and I'll give it. There's another criticism I had was Master Xehanort's new voice, which couldn't be helped because Leonard Nimoy had passed away. And truth of the matter is, his Japanese voice actor had passed away too. So they.
But I do think that, but I think they got better when they the remix.
So I'm about to get to that. So in the base game, they got like a celebrity voice, like an older celebrity voice actor called Rutger Hauer to do the voice. And God bless the man's soul, because thing is, he passed away too, about 6 months after the game came out.
No.
But he just did not match Leonard Nimoy's performance all that well. Like, that's the thing. Like, great actor, but he just didn't replicate it well enough. But then for the DLC, as well as the Melody of Memory rhythm game that came out, they got Christopher Lloyd. He did a far better job. Like he had like that scratchy voice that was just like Leonard Nimoy's.
Gotcha.
Simply put, it would have been great if they could have got Christopher Lloyd for the base game, but yeah.
What can you do?
Yeah.
Before I get to my experience, say another thing I think people complained about at the time, it might still do, but was the lack of development of Kairi as a character.
Yeah, they use her definitely. She's just a plot device in the game. She is in every game, unfortunately, but they hype her up to not be one, and then they use her as one.
Like I'm training. I'm like
it would have been nice if they put a little bit more focus on like the training that she and like Lee got, but they don't.
At least in the
the DLC they do explain. They do have Kairi be a little bit more involved, and then Melody of Memory is all about her. So
yeah, but too bad it's not. Too bad just a button pushing game at that point.
Yeah, I mean, story wise, she does get to do a lot more in that game, but yeah. Even though there's not too much story, it's mainly just her recapping the entire series. But then she does get to do. But then there is like some stuff at the very end. Oh, speaking of which, the very end of Melody of Memory, you get to see Sora's and Kairi's Cage 3 outfits rendered with the PS2 graphics. Like the graphics they use, like all the like from the original all the way to Cage 3D, like not the revamped graphics. And the reason why is because Melody of Memory was made to run on the Switch, which cannot use the Cage 3 engine.
Huh. Interesting.
Speaking of which, the entire series got ports on the Switch, except for Melody of Memory. You have to stream them.
Wild.
And the streaming does not work.
Nice.
So, yeah. I mean, I guess if they seriously needed to port KH3 and maybe even the 2.8 collection to the Switch, then I guess it was a bit understandable that they had to go that route. The 1.5, 2.5 collection had no excuse. The Switch is more powerful than the PS3 that originally ran them both. So no excuse. Especially when another Square Enix game made for PS4, Nier Automata, that got a port on Switch. That was actually a port.
Well, let's talk about my experience. That was when I first played. I had a bad time. Because one, at the time, I was between my medical insurance, trying to get new ones, and I was off my antidepressant anxiety medicine. And since Cage is a depressing game in general, usually that didn't help out. That helped out very much.
No, I bet
Two,
not.
I was this was the first game I was trying to do completely spoiler free. But I also had people I like to watch play, like Snick and my other guy I watch. So I had to try to beat the game fast so I could watch their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That stressed me out more.
Yeah.
Some basic stuff, is easy when you're more calmer. Like it took me like really, it took me like a long time to just figure out the basic jumping thing in Hercules Roll, where you to jump up the skydive jumping thing, get up to the king Olympus.
Oh yeah, the whole rubble scene.
It took me forever, and if I ever upload my videos, you'll see me raging about that. It took me like a long time to figure that out. Then another thing I stuck at was the Toy Story world with the robot thing. That took me a while too. I actually skipped that for a bit. Went to the I think it was not Rapunzel world. Beat that first, and then came back because that was giving me too much trouble.
Wow. Dang.
And then I couldn't beat the whirlpool minigame, not the whirlpool minigame, the roleplay area of Pirates until I went back and found every crab that upgraded my ship completely. I spent like hours just collecting crabs for that thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't get past it. Also, it might have been a bad choice too, but I played my first playthrough I played on Proud because at the time, Snick and me I had Snick play the game on that game, but I had Snick play 2 and Chain on Proud. Chain and 2 on Proud. I'm like, if he can do it, I can.
Chain was on Proud. 2, you had me go critical.
Yeah, but difficulty. I'm like, I made Snick do this. I'm making myself do this too. Just because.
We didn't have to.
I know, but I felt if I made you do it, I'm not going to be a hypocrite and not make me do it. But
wow,
that was just crazy.
Like wow.
And then the other thing was getting trying to find the I was trying to get all the royal emblems. Until later, I found out you only need 30 on Proud mode. You don't need all of them.
Yeah,
I just gave up on that part.
Well, it's fun. I think if you play beginner, you need 90 of them. Standard, you need 60. Proud, you need 30, and I'm pretty sure on critical, you need none. I think.
For what? I grabbed them all, so I don't know what.
I went out of my way to grab them all.
Like in 2, you have to have the whole journal completed or something like that, or get all the puppies.
Gotcha.
In 1, yeah.
I grabbed them all on my first playthrough, which probably added to me not liking it because trying to find them just adds so much time.
Eventually, I cheated a little bit. I cheated a bit. I got a guide, showed me where they were, I didn't do any stories part. It's like, where are their stupid emblems?
No, that's what I do. Is like when I get too frustrated, I'm like, whatever. I'm done. I just look up a guide and I'm like, let's just move on.
But yeah, like I said, all that combined, it took me literally to finish the game. It took me about a month to finish it with other stuff I was doing, getting stressed out and everything. So that was a fun time when I first played through it. But going back now, it's like once I got my medicine and calm down and play everything else was pretty easy. Doing the jumps was easy. Doing the pirate thing was easy. The Toy Story part was still hard, a little bit hard. That took me a while. Not dying with the robot and stuff, but yeah. Other than that, the game's that's much clearer now.
Yeah.
So I guess we can't talk about Reminds. You haven't played it, and that'd be spoilers.
I haven't played it yet. I would be spoilers. I watched it when it came out. Like I watched the cutscenes for it, and I only remember the scene of Mickey looking beat up. That's it. That's all I remember.
Yeah. So
it is a little spoilery.
After you do that, definitely play it because it is good.
That's what I've heard. People seem to really like it.
So, yeah, I did like the base game out. I did like the two scenes with Kyrie and Lee, where they're like, and he sees Xion in her and drops the ice cream.
I didn't get that the first time I saw it, but I recently just played through 358, and the reason he sees Xion is because Kyrie says, "Don't hold back, Lee. Promise," because they're gonna fight. And he remembers the scene where he has to bring Xion in the first time, and she looks at him and she goes, "Don't hold back, Axel. Promise." And that's the whole reason he sees her and drops his ice cream, because he's remembering her. Because they said the exact same thing. I had to pause the game. I was sobbing when I made the connection.
Wow.
Yeah, and like back the days, it's funny. All this time you wonder who she is, and I like the one scene where it's just like, where Naminé says, "You're not Riku, and you're not Riku, you're not Sora, you're not Roxas, you're Kairi, as Sora remembers her." Like, because in the training memories, she took away all of Sora's memories of Kairi and replaced it with her, pretty much. And I guess Kairi's memories went inside her, Xion.
Well, what's weird is later on in 358 is when Zigvar sees Xion. He actually sees Ventus, yeah.
Yeah, because that's supposed to be like a little hint towards like Birth by Sleep at that point. I guess, like I mentioned how I structured like the game movies and the KH games as like a TV series, like in my own project. Like, so, I mean, I split like each game or like story arc specifically into their own seasons. So like the prologue from KH2 and Days would be season 3. After Chain is number 2, and then KH1's number 1. And it's like, and then KH2 proper is 4. And you get all the hints towards Birth by Sleep in them, and then Birth by Sleep's number 5. So.
So, have any of you ever seen or read the Kate manga?
I have one. I know I got the first like volume of the KH2 one when I was in middle school, because they were selling it at my middle school book fair.
The old Scholastic book fair.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
and I remembered I tried to read it, except the thing is, I was very, very shy about talking about the games outside of like the one kid I mentioned from 5th grade. And that was like, this was already 6th grade. So I was like really shy or embarrassed about talking about the series, like at that point with like family members and all that. So when I bought the book, I kind of hid it from my mom and dad, just because I didn't want them seeing that. Oh, you're reading some weird Disney thing. You're too old for that.
Mm.
But I remembered being confused because the way you read manga is that what the first page is an American book. I turn the first page and it gives you a warning saying, hey, look, you're on the last page. Turn the book around. You have to read it the other way.
Yeah.
Because that's how Japanese books are written. Like, instead of reading left to right, it's right to left.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, I did read that manga a little bit. Sadly, I don't remember much of it because I kind of skimmed through it. All I remember is that it covered like the first half of the Roxas prologue.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it did not finish it.
No.
Yeah, so, at least in the first game one, I remember all of it, but the manga is definitely darker than the game.
Mm-hmm. I got the first 4 of Kingdom Hearts 1 manga, the 2 of Chain of Memories, and the first 2 of Kingdom Hearts 2 before I stopped being in school and they stopped doing book fairs. And yeah, the first one is definitely a little bit darker than the game is. And I think they can get away with that in the medium.
You have examples?
You want me to go grab the books? I'll go grab the books.
I'll think, but I think one of them was that I remember basically was in Traverse Town, where that one guy becomes a Heartless. It's much more violent in the manga.
Yeah, it's like you see it. Instead of him just tripping and then he disappears, he gets attacked visually. He also Sora gets hit on by an older lady who's smoking when he gets to Traverse Town.
Oh my god.
It's a little more adult, you know?
I mean, the art style definitely kind of fits with it. Because, I mean, I do watch a lot of anime, and quite frankly, most of the anime I've seen is not for kids.
Yeah.
So, like, even the ones that are for kids, like, generally tend to be more mature than, like, what most, like, kids' entertainment here in the U.S. would do.
We talked about
like, you have, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, you have, like, stuff getting cut out, like, real guns, like, religious references and all that. Like, let's see. Then you have Power Rangers and Super Sentai. Super Sentai, while still being a kids show, has stuff that you would not see in American kids shows. Like, they drop mild curse words like hell and damn. The one Sentai series I watched from start to finish was Time Ranger, the Sentai version of Power Rangers Time Force. The Silver Guardians on Time Force, they use like laser guns. The City Guardians in Time Ranger use real guns.
Oh, speaking
then there's also blood in Time Ranger. So yeah,
speaking of hell and stuff, wasn't that a thing they changed? Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it in the original Game Boy Advance game. During the
there were a couple of mild swears dropped in the original Game Boy version of Chain of Memories, specifically from Axel. In fact, his line of dialogue before the second fight with him is "Give me a hell of a show."
I think another thing was I might be wrong, but it was when Axel killed Vexen. Maybe I might be wrong. Oh,
I don't know about the Game Boy version.
I remember in the Game Boy version, it is a bit more brutal than in the.
How?
I don't. You know what? I don't remember exactly how.
Yeah, me either. But I
heard it being more brutal.
I heard about that.
I do know that Zexion's death in the Game Boy version is not as brutal as the PS2 one, largely because in the Game Boy one you don't even see it.
Yeah.
Like, literally what happens is, like, Riku Replica starts walking up to Zexion, and then it cuts to black.
It looks like... So, in the GBA version, what happens is Axel appears behind Vexen, and slices through his back. Whereas in the PS2, PS3 version, he just snaps. And then he
ignites on fire and everything.
which is still pretty brutal if you think about it. You know? In fairness.
I mean, quite frankly, the way Axel does it in the PS2 game was a little bit more badass in a way, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
least effort, more badass.
Basically, like you get Axel, like you get Vexen, like pleading for his life and all that, and he's like, "No, I don't want it. Goodbye."
Mm-hmm.
Dead.
Mm-hmm. Dead.
Who are you people? Or what are you people?
Yeah, what are you people? You know, I ask myself the same thing, and then he leaves.
I like when characters say that and give that answer to that question. Doesn't even apply to like the KH games. You also have Resident Evil 8. Ethan Winters asks what the Duke is, and then the Duke just kind of chuckles and says, "Even I can't quite answer that."
Speaking of in the chain of memories and it being like the translations being a bit more heavy, I remember you mentioning Axel says hell. He says it in the Rechain too, but I think he says it twice in the GBA version.
When does he say it in Rechain? Because I don't remember.
Maybe he doesn't say it in Rechain.
I don't think he says it in Rechain. Only in the GBA game.
Only in the GBA. Maleficent says it in 1.
In Birth by Sleep, she says it. I forget what the exact quote is, but she's like, she calls upon the fires of hell.
Yeah.
And that's a voiced line, so she says it.
Mm-hmm. During the Aqua fight.
Yeah, and Birth by Sleep.
Okay, Birth by Sleep.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember because she's turns into a dragon in both.
Well, it's right before she becomes a dragon in Birth by Sleep. So.
But Axel says it in the GBA version. I'm trying to remember. Does. He also says "commit it to memory" instead of got it
memorized. Yeah, that's some early installment weirdness right there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think a lot of people were confused if they ever played 1 to 2 and they're like, "Why is Sora in an egg?"
Oh yeah,
that was me when I played it as a kid. Well, then again, I hadn't even finished KH1 yet. So
I was confused, and I had played the GBA game. I'd just forgotten everything that happened in the GBA game by the time 2 came out, and I was like, who the hell is this guy? Is Roxas guy, and why is Sora in a pod? What's going on here?
Well, in fairness, I don't think the GBA game showed much of Roxas. Like, I think maybe one screenshot after the credits, maybe in Riku's story, but that was it.
Yeah, that's exactly what they do, yes.
Yeah.
At the very end, it's just they do some weird limerick thing, and Roxas is just like has his hand on the side of the clock tower.
Mm-hmm. So, I think almost doing a thing from a little line from Infinity Wars.
Yeah, I'll do you one better. Why are you people?
Okay.
We can't talk about. Yeah, we can't talk about Remind until if we make a part 2 later on when he's played the game. So you gotta come back. You gotta come back later in the summer after you played Remind.
Fair enough. I was trying to get through all of KH3 in this week, and I just did not have the time.
Yeah.
Those cutscenes really add a lot of time to the game.
Yeah, it's like if you remember what happened, the cutscenes you can skip them unless they're good ones. But if you're trying to get the storyline, you have to watch the cutscenes.
Mm-hmm.
At least the first time through.
It's been 4 years and I only played it once, so I had to rewatch. I remembered the spacing of the lines being a lot worse, and I wonder if when they updated it, they cut out a lot of the dead air because the timing is not terrible now. Because I remember they used to, specifically Yenzo used to be like, Sora, I've got data on Roxas. And it's like, why are you pausing for so long? Say the sentence. Fuck. But now I watched it and he's like, Sora, I've got data on Roxas's whatever the rest of the sentence would be. It's like, okay, so maybe I was just like impatient at the time because I wanted to see what happens, and now I'm not. Or they like went back in and fixed that spacing, because now
Would not
pace-wise,
surprise me, because Cage 3 did get a bunch of patches. I wonder.
Speaking of the one patch in Cage 3, but right before the Remind came out, when they added the critical mode, what was the 3 modes they added? Like they had a normal thing you could play, where another one where everything dies in one hit, pretty much baby mode, I guess.
Mhm.
Even on critical mode, you could like everything dies in one hit.
Yeah,
And I think the other one was super hard mode where you die in one hit.
Yeah,
pretty much.
easy codes and like hard codes. I don't know what the hard codes are called.
That reminded me so much of like difficulty modes in the Devil May Cry games. Like specifically, there's a difficulty like I think was first in Devil May Cry 3, and then it was later in 4 and 5. It was called Heaven and Hell, where I think all enemies die in one hit, and so do you. And I mean, Devil May Cry is like a similar style, like action game to like what KH is. But then, so you have Heaven and Hell, and then you have Hell and Hell.
Hell and Hell.
Hell and Hell, where you still die in one hit, but the enemies have their normal health pools back.
Oh no.
So yeah.
Hate that.
If I know I haven't done this because I haven't had enough time playing it normally, but have either of you tried the level 1 thing in the Cage games?
Level 1 now.
I've tried it in Kingdom Hearts 1, and I did it with one of my buddies. I used to live in Chicago, and I did it with one of my buddies there. And we managed to beat the game on level 1, but we didn't actually know any of the strats. We did a blind run for Kingdom Hearts 1, and there's a ton of things we should have done differently that we just had no idea about. Like damage storage. That would have been great to know about. That would have been an excellent thing to know about.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I like about 2 more than 1 is in 1, my favorite ability is scan.
Yeah.
And then 2, at least the remake, you get scanned after the first actual fight. It's an automatic bonus thing. They don't have those bonus abilities in the first game. Like, oh, you beat this guy, here's an ability for you.
Yeah.
Not having the level.
In Kingdom Hearts 1, you get no abilities if you go on level 1. 0. Because you don't get bonus abilities.
I remember that was one thing that people tried to use to claim that the Sephiroth in Cage 2 is harder than his Cage 1 counterpart, because to demonstrate, what they did was they made it to where they made a rule where they could only equip abilities that were in Cage 1. Anything that was first introduced in Cage 2 was no. And they got their asses handed to them.
Here's how I know they're wrong.
Yeah.
I did a run through of Kingdom Hearts 1, no damage. No boss damage, no nothing. And I beat Sephiroth. It took way too many fucking tries. And I can do that just standardly on Kingdom Hearts 2 critical mode. Wow. I can just not get hit because Reflect is too fucking broken.
I just tell you, I just love how when I was a kid, I actually was really, really damn excited when I actually beat Sephiroth in Cage 2. Like, that was the achievement at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now people don't even talk about him because there are just so many more bosses across the series that have stolen that title. Like the data battles for Organization 13 in Cage 2, the Terra armor in Cage 2, Young Xehanort in Birth by Sleep, Xemnas in Cage 1, Final Mix, some other stuff that I can't spoil, but yeah.
Well, I know about the data battles in Cage 3. I know that's
Cage
a thing.
3? Okay.
I also know about Yuzora
In
as
Cage
a
3.
super boss. Yeah.
Yeah, Yuzora in Cage 3 is probably the hardest one in the entire series. Like, he beat out the Terra Armor.
Yeah, I heard, I may be wrong, but I heard losing that fight is actually the canon thing, not the winning the fight.
Yeah, and not to mention, so you know the Cage 3 Kupo coin mechanic?
Mm-hmm.
Do not bring one to Yozora.
No.
No. Would you like to know why you don't bring one to Yozora?
Yes. Yeah, I want to know why.
So he has a utterly massive pool of health, right? And he has the most hard to predict and damaging attacks of like any boss in the series, right?
Mm-hmm.
He says, I don't lose for a reason. So you go through a long battle, like you go through the fight, he does like a whip attack or something. I don't know what attack he does, but then you notice your Kupo coin, if you bring a Kupo coin with you, he whips you with it, and then you suddenly die, and you notice your Kupo coins go and doesn't revive you. So you restart the fight, the exact same thing happens. He does a certain attack on you, suddenly you don't have the coin anymore. So you go through the grueling, like, over half hour to drain all his health. You finally get him down to 0 HP. He's done. You finally get at your ending. He comes back because he has that Kupo coin.
He stole your Kupo coin.
He stole it. And all of his health comes back.
That's so funny.
So, yeah. Do not bring a Kupo coin to Yuzora.
Fair enough. I actually haven't used a Kupo coin on this most recent playthrough.
Yeah.
What I've been doing instead is just over leveling for areas.
Yeah.
So how were you guys on the cooking mechanic?
The eggs, I suck with the timing.
I was struggling this playthrough. I don't remember the last one. This playthrough, I was struggling with the salt and pepper shakers because I'm used to Melody of Memories. You have to hit it exactly when it lines up right then, or you fail. With the salt and pepper shakers, you actually have to do it slightly before they line up to get an excellent. And so that was fucking me up real bad. But yeah, the rest of them are pretty easy. The eggs, I always mess up. I go too hard because when I go to press L1 and R1 at the same time, my thumbs will jut out.
Yeah.
Which will make me break the egg.
Yeah, back in KH1, I think it was just a Sephiroth fight where you haven't seen the damage you're doing until a little bit while, because there's no color for the first level thing. It's the same color. So you even know what you're doing damage until you actually see the 20 minutes later, the bar actually moves a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing I hated about KH1. Other thing is I'm kind of partially colorblind a bit. So I could tell different colors of the thing, until we got the yellow and black, then I knew it was almost dead.
Mm.
So I could tell, like, okay, red, it's red now. Is that like almost done, or still a lot to go, or what? But I loved the next thing they did, the bubble thing, because no colors involved. Like, oh, they have five more lines to go until he's done, until he's dead. Yeah. But I'm like, what color are we on? Yellow. Is that left? Like, what? How many more did they go from there? Just because you don't know.
What shade of gray is this? Wait, I can't. Yeah, I like the bubble thing too. But I get to some of those bosses in 3 and 2, and I'm like, that's too many bubbles. I don't even want to fight this guy. This guy's got like 17 bubbles of health. Not about
so
it.
When you first played Chains, what was your thing about the card thing, good or bad? Or
I adapted to it pretty easily.
Yeah, I liked it. I was also little, so I was like, oh, this is different. It was my first introduction to a card-based system, and I thought it was fun to kind of like strategize fights. How about you?
Yeah, first time I didn't like it very much, but now once I learn how to actually use the cards, and stuff, and I can learn how to do different once I learn how to do instead of just spamming X and tacking, once I learn how to do slates and slides and stuff, It's actually pretty easy sometimes when you know you actually get good combos going instead of just hit X, hit X, hit X.
Yeah. I think it did a pretty good job of like circumventing the criticism of KH1 where it's like press X to win. Because in Chain of Memories, you press X to win, but you have to like plan how to press X to win instead of just doing it. But then people really hated the mechanic.
It's like, but yeah, it's like, oh, I try and figure out the different things, like attack power D, but recovery power B or whatever, you know, like A plus recovery, but C attack, and try and get all those memorized. Like
Yeah, absolutely.
But then you get to the very end, you're not prepared, and then Marluxia just blows all your cards away. I'm like, damn it.
Fuck.
And it wouldn't be so bad restarting if you had to do the first battle again too, you know, with the scythes, you know.
Mm-hmm.
This is the whole chain, you know. If you just start from that point, like, okay, I can do this, but you know, you have to go all the way back to the first boss form. That's the thing about all games, really.
Yeah, not so great. Not so fun to have to fight them both.
But probably not as bad as the going back through all the fights of KH2 ending.
I've not had to do. So what happens if you die against Xemnas? Do you have to redo all of them?
I think so. I think I mean, I forget. When I played, I think I had to go back to the dragon.
Oh wow. Okay.
I might be misremembering now, but yeah.
Every time I've played Kingdom Hearts 2, I fight Xemnas absolutely last. So I'm always way over level for it so I don't die, but that's wild. I've never heard of that.
Are you talking about the actual final boss? Or are you talking about the data?
The actual final boss.
The actual final boss. Okay.
If you die, how far does it take you back?
I'm pretty sure it puts you on whatever fight you died on, because I know that I died quite a bit fighting like the actual, like the final fight, like where like you're like in the white void, because they messed up the timing on the reaction commands a little bit on the PS3 version. So I would press the reaction command, but then like but then the dodge would be delayed and I would get hit.
Maybe I'm thinking about the original PS2 game. I might be misremembering. I might be making this whole thing up, but I remember going when I get there. I had to do the whole thing all again. Oh, actually, no. It was. I forget if it goes all the way back to the cutscene area where Naminé and Roxas merged together with you.
Oh,
but yeah.
So if you die before you get to the final boss Xemnas, you get reset to the dragon fight where Roxas and Naminé merge with Sora and Kairi.
Maybe I may be misremembering. Like I said, it's been a while since I got that far. It was a while since I beat the game and got that far. But and like I said, I haven't. It was then again that was the PS2 version too that I played through. But
I mean, they might have updated it for the PS3 and PS4 version, and PS2 maybe it's if you die at all, you're starting over, pal. Not sure though.
All right, so overall, what's your opinion of the Kingdom Hearts series as overall?
Overall, I like it. I think it's a fun series. I made a YouTube channel on it, so I mean, I like it a lot. I think it's one of those series that you either like or you don't. You know what I mean? Like, there's always people in the middle. Not with Kingdom Hearts. You either like love it too much, or you absolutely despise it. And I feel like anyone who's in the middle are like the people who don't really like get into it. They're like, I played 1 and I played 2, and that was just kind of it. And I was like, okay, those were good. And I was like, cool, But for me, I'm definitely on the far end of the spectrum, the loving it side of the spectrum. And I think if you don't like cheesy dialogue and exhaustive, complicated plots, you you might not like it. But for instance, like Birth by Sleep is my favorite. I don't watch a cutscene in that game anytime I play it. I just love the gameplay of Birth by Sleep. But Kingdom Hearts 1, I want to watch that every time I play it. Conversely, because that's my favorite story.
Alma wants me to make her play the games.
Yeah.
So
I say play them.
Yeah.
Don't cringe at the cheese. Kill the part of yourself that cringes. Live in the cheese.
You gotta understand, once you start the rabbit hole, it's a deep, not deep some games, but there's a deep rabbit hole you go down. Because you can't because Kate is more story than gameplay. I mean, the gameplay is good and all, but it's more story. And you don't play the side games, you have no fuck idea what's going on half the time. You just play 1, 2, 3. Like, okay, then like, who is this? Who? Where did this come from?
Yeah,
it's like 20 side games now between the DSs, the Game Boy Advances, the phone games. It's like,
and it's funny because they even found a way to make a freaking concert video that's included the deluxe edition of the DLC canon.
Jeez Louise.
And and even funnier is it's like apparently the big reason why Sora took so long to come to Super Smash Brothers was not because of Disney. Because one thing to keep in mind is that while Square might be developing the games and all that, apparently it's Disney who has the majority copyright and they have final say on like what gets done.
Mm-hmm.
They were all for having him in Super Smash Brothers. It was the director of the series over at Square who was hesitating for so long. And I believe his reasoning was, how are we going to fit this in the story?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, is Smash canon? And how long did it take the director to figure it out?
Make it canon. He probably found a way.
Well, all right. So hear me out. Right. This is my tinfoil hat. That's really not a tinfoil hat theory. He decided to make the plot go towards imaginary worlds. That's just true. That's like his whole plot here. So I'm pretty sure that's how Smash is going to be canon. That's an imaginary world that Sora went to. I don't know what imaginary means.
It's funny since I think they assume imaginary world is our world. It seems like.
Right, and then in the Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer, it looks just like the real world is the imaginary world.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever I don't know, you ever played the World Ends with You series?
I have not. I only know of it.
Yeah, I only know of it and know it was in 3DS.
Yeah, but I got
original
game,
DS.
It's pretty good.
No, I mean Kingdom Hearts 3DS. Like they showed up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but it's just World Ends With You is on the original DS. Though they did do a remaster for the Switch and then a sequel for PS4 and Switch.
Basically, but really, if you play the game, it's in. You recognize it at the end of 3, the cutscene, because it's Shibuya, and you see all the buildings from the World Ends With You game. The 104 building. That's a big thing in there. Like, hey, I know that game. That's Shibuya from World Ends With You.
I know that place.
I'm thinking, oh my god, are they going to be in this game? Are they going to meet them again? Like, I don't know, probably not. But it's like, oh my god, I know that place.
It would be neat if, because I think Alma would enjoy that if they moved away from the Disney worlds and going forward they go into more like Final Fantasy or The World Ends With You, type world.
It's funny because sometimes on the side, like I just imagine how like I like doing crossover stories, like various different game franchises, and I just imagine the logic of how it works is that they're all KH style worlds. So yeah.
Like I like crossover. I was sad that Tifa was in the first game, but she was in the second game. Like, oh, some Tifa's back.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the other thing. And Hollow Bastion, it was Cloud and Tifa. That was that little couple.
Yeah. The power couple.
but Snick, you have a thing, I forget, either on Reddit or like or your forums or Discord, where you have something where you have challenges. Do you have any Kingdom Hearts challenges that you have for your thing?
For what? Oh, you mean achievements?
Oh, achievement. That was it.
Oh,
Achievement.
retro achievements? No. I did not do any KH related stuff on there. That said, there are people who have made like achievement sets for like the older games. Like originally it was only days. It was only days for the DS. Because when I first joined the site, they also did Chain of Memories for Game Boy. It's funny because the days achievements were broken. Some of them were broken because there's an achievement for getting all the treasure in the game. I'm pretty sure it triggered randomly, like when I was running through a Twilight Town mission. So, yeah.
Strange.
And now let's see. Then when PSP support was added, they started working on Birth by Sleep Final Mix, and then they got PS2 support. KH1 Final Mix got achievements, and I'll say this much. The KH1 Final Mix set is probably my favorites of the ones there, because the one user on the site, I mean, nothing against them because they're free to put whatever they want. Like, users are free to put whatever achievements they want anytime they nab a game. The one who keeps getting a hold of the KH games keeps putting in ridiculous challenges. Like, number one, he keeps requiring you to not be above a certain level for certain bosses. Number two, he keeps telling you not to use vital skills or anything that makes certain fights easier.
Jeez.
So he got a hold of Birth by Sleep. He did a revision of Chain of Memories on GBA that added in his challenges. He currently has his hands on, he did KH Recoded. He has his hands on KH2 Final Mix. He did not get a hold of KH1 Final Mix. And the thing is, there's some challenges in KH1 Final Mix, except they are of the more fun variety. Like, there's no level cap. Like, they actually are pretty creative. Like, like in like for example, in Wonderland, they put an achievement for beating the Queen of Hearts in the cards without pressing the left analog stick. And the way you do that is you need to use like the lock-on feature, and you can do dodge rolls. You can move with dodge rolls, sliding dash. In fact, I even did a video of me getting this achievement. So yeah, like they are of the more fun variety. There is one bullshit achievement though. And the one bullshit achievement, beating Xemnas damageless.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I can say from experience because I did that. It was not fun. Gravity is super busted though. It does help
gravity is what you basically need to do to achieve that. So
yeah, I think like in both 2 and later, since you get abilities leveling up, not leveling up the thing, but also level 1. I think it might be easier to do a level 1 challenge in Birth by Sleep because your abilities aren't connected by your level. They're melded and level completely different than your level power level.
That's true. Yeah, it would probably be easier.
Right. So looking to the future, what do you think is going to happen in the Kate series, or what do you want to happen?
Well, from what we know about KH4, we know that they're going to look for Sora where he ended up. And there was a little bit of a teaser, like one of the trailers for KH4 had Donald and Goofy walking through like a void, and then they're confronted by like some kind of mysterious figure. Let's see. Like, when it comes to Disney stuff they're featuring, I don't know. Like, lots of people actually want Treasure Planet to be in a KH game.
Agree.
Yeah.
Hard agree.
Yeah. And, like I said earlier about KH3, I'd really like it if they revisited Aladdin to do King of Thieves, and then they don't have to do Aladdin anymore. Like,
So
just
do you
do
think?
King of Thieves, and then you're done with Aladdin.
I know that it could be a lot. This is going to be a lot of copyright stuff and all this stuff, and some people want it or don't want it. But I think they'll ever do either Marvel or Star Wars.
I would like it if they had a super boss with Darth Vader.
I can promise you, if Tetsuya Nomura, the director, gets his hands on the rights to Star Wars, he will do it. He literally made Leonard Nimoy the voice of Master Xehanort and Mark Hamill the voice of Master Ericus, so that he could do his fan fiction of Star Trek versus Star Wars.
Yeah.
That is from his mouth.
Yeah.
That's a paraphrase. If he gets his hands on Star Wars, he's doing it. I have no doubts.
It would only be a question of what era would he do. He probably wouldn't do the prequels. It would probably be either the original trilogy or, hell, even the sequel trilogy. But I really hope it's the original trilogy, so they can do a fight with Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but off topic of that, I have a theory, because really, I hate the sequels. This is my opinion.
You don't like the sequels? I've warmed up to them a little bit thanks to some Twitter friends, but I still not as bad as the original.
But my theory was they made the sequels so bad, so people stopped complaining about how the prequels were bad. And prequels were bad. Also, the sequels came out like, oh my god, the prequels are amazing compared to the sequels.
I have one Twitter friend who considers Revenge of the Sith his favorite of the whole series. And there's people who have problems with Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, I think at least of the prequel series, that is the better.
Well, Revenge of the Sith is considered the best of the prequels, even by people who don't like them. But here's the thing: I think Phantom Menace is his number 2.
They like
Revenge of the Sith.
I think that's everyone's at least.
Yeah, Phantom Menace. Either Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones is everybody's least favorite, because originally it was Phantom Menace, but then eventually people started going after Attack of the Clones more, only because at least they give the argument at least you stayed awake during Phantom Menace.
At least until until 8 came out, personally. But yeah. Here's my opinion.
8 was. I mean, I rewatched 8. It's got pretty glaring story problems, but I did not think 8 was all that bad.
Yeah, I think
honestly, the biggest problem I had with 8 was that pointless gambling planet side plot, and that admiral, how she withholds the plan just because she's like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I'm better than everyone here, except. By withholding that, she makes Poe make the reckless decision that results in the fleet getting destroyed.
But yeah, I think
so.
I mean, this is my mean, but I made people complain about the 7th movie. I'm like, the 7th movie was great back in 1977 when it first came out. Since 7 is just pretty much a copy paste of 4 of A New Hope.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? It's pretty much I think, isn't it pretty much the same plot, word for word almost?
Not exactly, but it does follow some suspiciously similar beats.
All right, so Nick, not that Nick. Since you're both Nicks.
Yeah.
But what's coming up on your channel? You want to advertise anything?
Okay, so. I just finished what I call it the Kingdom Hearts 2 item hunt series. Basically, I went through the game and cataloged every chest, puzzle piece, get bonus, map, and item, and put them in a video series. And this week and into next week, I'm working on the synthesis, which is ironic for several reasons, one of which I've never had to focus on the synthesis one time I played that game. I always just do it haphazardly and I'm done, which is a lot of fun, I'll tell you what. So I'm making the synthesis video that's supposed to come out before the end of April, but I'm just going to say it's supposed to come out before the end of April, but there's no hard date yet. And after that, I just hit 1,000 subscribers, so we're gonna do a fun video. I asked my subscribers what they want for the 1,000 special, and they said that they wanted a like fun which Heartless were the Organization 13 video, like a guesstimation kind of like theory craft video.
Yeah, the only one, at least my opinion was, at least I don't know if it's true or not, but I always thought in my head the Phantom from Wonderland was Marluxia.
I could see that. That would be cool. That's a cool thought because they're both kind of like Reapery. He's got the scythe, but the Phantom has the cloak.
Yeah, and my other theory was at the time was in the first game. Clayton is the first nobody you ever see in game.
Oh, why is that?
Because he says no heart, and so nobodies, at least the more powerful nobodies, keep their human form. And like the Heartless version, Heartless is that self thing. His Heartless is the chameleon, but his nobody is right there too.
Huh. That's neat.
At least that's my theory.
I like that. It's a fun headcanon.
My other one is why my other headcanon in my brain at least is why some nobodies keep their human form, others don't. Is they're the ones, like you see it with when Sora stabbed himself, and later on you see it when Xemnas or whatever attacks the people, on at the beginning of Dream Drop Distance and stuff, where he stabs Brig with the Keyblade. Like you stab yourself with the Keyblade. I guess you keep put your heart inside of you, so you keep, because my original theory was your heart shapes your body. That's why when Ventus's heart stayed inside Sora, he looked like Roxas.
I never thought about that before. That's really cool because those like in the past 3DS scenes, he stabs all of them with the Keyblade, and we know Sora made Roxas by stabbing himself with a Keyblade. And we also know for the other 4 that, didn't show up to Birth by Sleep, that they were Keyblade wielders. So that's real interesting. That's real interesting.
That's headcanon.
That's a great headcanon. I'm gonna. That's a good headcanon. I'm gonna use that. I'm sorry. I'm using that headcanon. Because they always just say, "Oh, whoever has a strong heart, that's how." And then I actually just got a scene where Xemnas is talking to Larxene, Luxord, Marluxia, and Demyx, and Xemnas is like, "So, do you know why we picked you for?" And Larxene's like, "Because we're uber powerful." And he's like, "No, that's not it. It's because you're Keyblade wielders." And then they're like, "What?"
Like we know about, obviously we already knew about Marluxia and Larxene but we have yet to see what Luxord and Demyx's thing is past and their past.
The prevailing theory that I had last heard was at the end of Remind, the back of the head of Yazora's driver is Luxord. But that's a weird one to me because if you watch like the cutscenes where in the Toy Story world where they're doing the Verum Rex promo at the beginning, there's a blonde dude in his posse who has the same back of his head. So, I mean, that's a weird one, but it could be true. I don't know.
What I want to know is what class. I want to know what Keyblade class, because he wasn't in the class with Xehanort and Ericus, and they all died. I want to know whose class or what level class Yin Sid was in, who's Keyblading, whose class he was in.
Maybe we'll find out.
Was he in their teacher's class or something, or was he after them? But yeah, like we know he's a Keyblade wielder, so you gotta be one of those classes. Like who was his teacher and what class was he in?
Yeah, we might find out. I doubt it, but we might find out in Missing Link because at least in that's another like prequel game that has to do with Scala Ed Kylum, more Keyblade wielders. So we might find out who his teacher was, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I think I'll say spoilers. People like, but I think I think I don't think they confirmed it. I'm not sure they confirmed it or not, but I think that at least the confirming theory is that girl you meet in 4 cutscene is Marlusa's sister.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much all but confirmed at this point, because her name's Strelitzia, and they hint really heavily. No, I think they just outright say it, that Marluxia's sister's name is Strelitzia. So,
because you see her quote die in the Unchained game,
yeah,
or whatever that was. But yeah, and then you like that looks like her outfit she was wearing.
Mm-hmm. She's even got the long red hair. I think the only thing that's unconfirmed is that if that is actually Strelitzia, but I don't keep up with the prevailing theories because I just want to see what happens. I'm not a big theory
It's hard.
crafter.
It's hard to keep a balance between theories, and some theories and trying to avoid spoilers at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like keep a balance. You're like, is this a spoiler thing, or there's a theory about a spoiler?
Mm-hmm. There was one theory. I don't remember. I read it on Reddit, so I don't know if it's a theory or like a spoiler. But supposedly, at the end of Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, your character can either choose to become a Dream Eater or choose to get reincarnated. That's true. That's not the theory. And he chooses to get reincarnated. And it's implied that he becomes Xehanort, or she, whoever.
Oh yeah, I heard that, because I was on your all of a sudden you're a baby. All of a sudden,
right.
Then later they you find out it's not true.
Right. So that's the thing. The theory that I was talking about, and I don't remember if it was a theory, but I read it on Reddit, is that no, you're actually not reincarnated as Xehanort. You're reincarnated as some random dude in a blue cloak whose memories get siphoned by Xehanort. And I was like, that's really stupid. If that's true, that's so stupid. It's just cooler to become Xehanort. Like, narratively, that's way cooler.
Have you seen the game yet, or you played it yet? I don't want to spoil it if you haven't.
Dark Road? Yeah, I played it.
Well, at the end, you find out that you're just the old guy next to talking to Xehanort is an old cloak guy, like you're his grandfather, something like that, or his guardian.
Yeah. I don't recall them saying that any, like, I know that the guardian is there, but I don't recall them like implying that the guardian was a reincarnated version of your Cuck's character. Also, Cucks is a really funny word.
Yeah, I think I think they do it because he at the end he says, "I had friends once and did this, blah blah blah." Like, I think that's like more implied.
I'll have to rewatch it then, because it just is more interesting to me if you become Xehanort, but fine. It's not my story, so.
Yeah. I think I don't know if it was me or not, but what happened to Ava, like, because he's the only one that doesn't reappear. Else is around still at the end of 2, but Ava's gone. Mm-hmm. Like, one theory is she's Kairi. She might be Kairi reincarnated.
Yeah, I remember.
Or other one was she's Kairi's grandmother.
I can see that. I remember back when that's interesting. It took me a second to process it. I remember back when Union Cross came out and Back Cover came out, people were talking heavily about the parallels between the modern characters and the fairy tale characters, the Lost Masters and all. So I really think there is some interesting validity to the parallel that Kairi and Ava, and then that she could be a reincarnated Kairi, or her grandma, which would also be interesting because that's the only like parent we ever see in the game.
Yeah, unless you count like I think another one might be not implied, but like a surrogate father, Ansem the wife for Zexion or Enzo.
Yeah,
kind of like a surrogate.
There's a bit of an implication there. You're right. I also have sort of a headcanon that Xehanort is a distant relative of Riku.
They are from the same
They're
island.
from the same island. They both have the silver hair. If that's just a dominant trait, his skin could lighten based on who his mom and or descendants are. Weird to think about. It's weird to think about sex and Kingdom Hearts in the same sentence. I'm gonna back up for a minute because that's weird.
well, I think everyone. Well, that thing that everyone at least they're like, why isn't Sora and Kyrie kissed yet? Like, why haven't they done that yet? Like, that's not because it's not that's kind of that type of game it is.
Yeah,
and it's a very slow. It's one of those. It's one of those. It's a Japanese culture thing, but it's one of those slow burn romance things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Pao-Poo fruit's about as close as you're gonna get, and it's powerful.
Yeah, and they actually, there's a theory, I don't know if it's true or not, but that they kissed in the Kingdom Hearts 1 manga when that's at least they kind of off screen a bit. Also the bottom's half, and Kairi does the little knee thing. The theory is that they're kissing in that thing at the time when you get the Oath Keeper and he says goodbye to Kairi before he goes to the final battle. That's a fan theory I've heard of.
I can see that. The little off-screen smooch with the leg up.
You said you don't have any Kingdom Hearts achievements, at least not yet for yourself. But are you anything on your channel that you want to talk about?
Are you asking me or
Snick?
Hey, you got to repeat that. Sorry.
I know you're not doing any achievements of Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
You haven't made achievements, at least not yet. But I was wondering if anything came up on your channel that you want to talk about, anything that you're going to do on your channel.
Oh yeah. So I don't know. I might have to finish live streaming Dead Space Remake at some point because I know my friend Brandon's going to want me to do that. I know I want to make some SFM sketches, but that might just go on Twitter or it might go on YouTube. I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Like, when it comes to achievement stuff, there's one game I'm working on, which is a Squaresoft game called Front Mission 3. Only thing is, I don't know if I'll be able to pull it off, because that is a massive game. So, time and motivation's a massive problem. But there's two smaller games I'm working on. One of them's a Disney game, the Dreamcast port of a game based on the Buzz Lightyear Star Command cartoon that I played the PS1 version as a kid. Then the other one is a rail shooter called Vampire Knight. Basically think House of the Dead, but with vampires. So
that's pretty cool.
For me,
yeah,
I have at least the next 6 weeks planned out and guests ready to go. Next week, me and my guests are talking about our favorite English kings, English monarchs, our top 10. Then the week after that, me and Snick are going to be talking about the Iron Man trilogy, thanks to suggestions from Alma in the chat. That was her idea. So we're going to talk about the Iron Man trilogy. Then the week after that, it's going to be about creationism and intelligent design. How it's not that good.
Humans are not designed well. Big agree.
Yes. Then we're going to be talking about the U.S. Constitution after that, and how it's still, even 200 years later, it's still a documented thing. How it lasted this long. Then week after that, we're talking about the kings of France, how they are different than the kings of England, and finally, right now, at the end of June, beginning of June, we're going to be talking about Captain America trilogy. Now, I do have a question for this, Nick. Do you think? How do you feel about if you read mine by then? How do you feel about coming back on June 10th to talk about it?
I think that'd be interesting. I can let you know as we get there if I've beaten it.
Because I know you at least you told me you need a 2 week advance thing of notice.
Yeah,
stuff.
Yeah.
This is about a month and a half advance. So
That's true. I'm I can let you know, but if I do beat it by then, I'd definitely be open to coming back. Yeah.
Because right now I don't think I'm planning for June 10th. So
Okay.
my opening. You have a Discord or anything? You have a Discord or anything?
Not yet. Not yet.
Oh,
That's
okay.
I'm planning on it.
Well, if you want to see their channels, click their names in the title thing. Click either Snick's name or Nick's name, and you go to their you go right to their channel. Check out their content. Check out all of Nick's KH stuff, and check out all the games that Snick has played.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't seen it yet, if you haven't seen it, I think it's on my channel still. Check out my playthrough of Snick's RPG game. Of me trying to play it.
That.
Oh, you made an RPG game.
Yeah, it was an RPG Maker thing. It was something I worked on late middle school, early high school. Basically, it was a crossover game that involved KH and Final Fantasy characters, but then you also had stuff like Mario, Sonic, Castlevania, Metal Gear. It sucked. Like, the original version was nonsensical, like, freaking, basically it was just, I was the only one who knew how to play it, so I did eventually go in, I kind of re-edited it into like a bit of a joke thing, but also still kind of serious. Like, basically I went in and made it something that was passable. So, yeah.
I like that Alma called it the Schnick PG.
The Schnick PG. That's creative, Alma.
Yeah, but really, he had two people play it for him, like our friend Adam and me. And I played it. I did different things. Like I did it at 1.1, 1.2. If I played it, I got stuck something. Like I couldn't go. Like Snick, I need a patch real fast. So he passed it. He passed the thing, and I got farther. Like there's one thing where if you go back, he never tried to go backwards. I went backwards this one area to save the game, but then at the time he had I had to repeat the whole first level again because
yeah,
but with certain characters, like he passed that. And another thing was where he had this one thing where you have to find a key to unlock. There's a series of doors, right? Lock gates. And you need to go around. There's a time limit. You find a key and get up to the top of the hill each gate. But I found out I could just jump over the gate and just like skip all that.
Who needs a key? I'm just jumping over this.
Because you have like a one level, like a one space jump thing. Like so, I jumped over the gate. I guess he passed. I don't know if he passed that or not. But yeah,
I feel like that's one of those. If you figured it out, you just get to take the win.
like I said, keep me updated, and when you beat Remind and stuff. So it's like I said, it's a very good ending.
Yeah, we'll do.
But okay, do you have anything? You have a catchphrase you say at the end of your videos at all? You want to say now?
Oh, I always just hit it with the goodbye and then wave.
Mine is never stop learning and enjoy the randomness. We'll see y'all next time. Bye.
I like that.